Hello and welcome to Heroes of the Horn, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am Sir Matt.
And I am Sir Ezra. Friends, we are back. This is episode 5. We just finished watching it. Blood Calls Blood. There was a lot of blood.
There was a lot of blood.
So,
woo, Ez, already, we've been doing this sort of live hangout as we watch the episode, which is a ton of fun. And so we've already got a lot of people in here hanging out. Got around 50 people right now hanging out over here on YouTube. So guys, check that out because we'll be going live for all the episodes, which is, you know, midnight GMT time, Grand Mountain time, as Ez likes to call it. It's 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
And then whatever else your time zone happens to be. But wow, this is a lot of fun hanging out and watching this with everybody. Initial takeaways, man. This was a heavy episode.
It was emotional. It was an emotional episode.
Across the board, all the parties.
Yeah.
It was pretty emotional.
Yeah. So yeah, that is the key word, because I got emotional with Lan there at the end. Let me work backwards. Nynaeve showing up with Rand and Matt. Loyal, because I love him. Loyal, however you want to call him. I call him Loyal. Got emotional with Egwene and Perrin. Got real emotional when when those White Cloaks had their hands on her. I said, "Get your freaking hands!"
And he's
off.
cutting. He's cutting Perrin's back.
Don't touch him.
But you know what? You know who had Perrin's back? The Wolf Pack.
That's right.
Pack is back. Okay.
Let's go. Let's go. I know folks were happy. Yeah, I see a comment here. First sighting of Perrin's yellow eyes. Yeah, that was awesome. That was really, I thought, when it first happened and the glow just hit, I was like, wow, the energy was real, you know? I mean, just so many things happened in this episode. It just little things too, little nods towards the Forsaken, you know, and like the tea and just stuff with like Nynaeve, just the dialogue. Leandrin, actually, big deal. Little like some tower politics, you know?
Yeah, I mean, wow, we got a little bit of, sorry, as my camera's out of focus, it'll fix itself here in a second. The first name drop of the Forsaken, right?
Yeah.
Then we saw those little Forsaken sort of things they were praying against, I'm guessing. And you look at some of them and you get to see some of that. We were looking and he specifically said Ishamael.
Yeah.
And then we were looking at a few other ones. There was definitely 2 female ones I noticed. One of which maybe Grendel, and then the other, I'm guessing, obviously, is Lanfear. So that was kind of cool to get that little sort of Easter egg in there. Yeah, Forsaken action figures. Yeah. Crazy episode today. You know, again, we're past the halfway point, and so the interesting thing is, remember, we looked at this last time and we said that everybody has done, all the directors get 2 episodes each. And so it's going to be kind of interesting. So 1 and 2 were done by the same person. 3 and 4, which I think are the best block of episodes. And so now this one and then the next one. So these next 2 are going to be very white. This one and the next episode, very White Tower heavy. I'm pretty sure we're meeting Suan in the next episode. We've seen her in the trailers. And then man, so many people pointing out things here in the chat. Logain, right? Staring up at Matt kind of more so than Rand. We had another tease of Rand being Aiel. Royal kind of points that out. And that was teased a little bit earlier. So yeah, book wise, we're actually kind of where we should be. Things are done a little bit differently, but it's like, okay, we're kind of 3/4 of the way into Eye of the World right now, which is, we're, you know, I don't whatever the math is, 60 some percent, right? What's 5 divided by 8? Something like that, right? Like 63%.
I love how you always ask me math
60%.
questions.
60%, I think, right?
And you know,
62.5. I was close. 63. I was close.
I'll tell you what, though, you know, something that was interesting is that you said we're about where we should be in the books. And I thought there was an interesting plug here for we should be in Camelin. And so in this very episode, they plugged Camelin, which I thought was a cool little nod that Swan is there and on her way back and will want to speak with them about Logain. And then we saw a lot of the same things. I mean, we meet Loyal and Camelin. A lot of this stuff it was a really good merger actually of Camelin and Tarvalin. I thought that was great. So
yeah, we talked about that and we said that's probably going to be the case. You know, really interesting. Right off the bat, we got the 1 month later,
right?
Which we were like, I didn't know if that's entirely necessary or not, but kind of cool.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe we'll get other, you know, jump backs in time and say 16 years ago or something like that, which could be really cool.
Yeah, I think one time in the Great Hunt, I remember early on they did a little bit of a month jump type of thing with the portal stones and stuff. Which, by the way, guys in the comments, was that a portal stone or like, you know, that stone Matt looked at with all the glyphs on it or whatever? It was an old stone looking thing. I just got, you know, I mean, don't know what that was. Was that just a marker, different language or something that he was staring at as he was walking into Tarvalin? So many things jumping out. And again, we just finished up here. The bit someone mentioned Padon Fane, that sighting of him, that was cool. Cause again, all Tarvalin stuff, or I'm sorry, Camelin stuff from the books, but happening in Tarvalin where
I didn't see them. I missed that.
Yeah. When they're sitting on the ledge, the crowd walks by and then there he appears for a split second, stands up, turns, walks away. Like
okay.
Real quick, real fast.
I must have been looking at the chat. I missed that. I did. I mean, obviously, I saw Logan look at him, but I did not. Okay, just because a lot of people are talking about it, let's go ahead and talk about thoughts on Loyal's look when we were doing it live. First of all, I think he looks better than he did in the leaked trailers.
Yes. Yeah.
The hair is a little weird. I'll agree with that. I think it's to make him look younger. I really like this comment right here from Mito saying, not sure about Loyal's look, but his mannerisms and talking were spot on. The humans are so hasty for him. I agree 100%. His mannerisms and everything were so funny. When he walks in after he's found Nynaeve and
right.
he barges in. He's talking, like carrying on this conversation with himself. Yeah, spot on. Like Loyal, you can sort of change his attire and stuff like that. Some people were saying he's a little too small, but I think we're off to a good start with Loyal. And then again, that's something you can improve upon in seasons, 2 and 3. Go back and look at Game of Thrones season 1. Some of the attire and stuff like that, especially like Tyrion, I think is the most, he looks so much better in the later seasons. But so yeah, I think it was good. Really like this episode. It wasn't like a step. It's just the past 2 episodes have been so good that this one, you got
to bring it down. You got to,
Yeah, it's just sort of, we've been really action heavy and stuff like that. And so, all right, now we're going to dive in our plot for the next 2 episodes and then set up the ending, right? Which is going to be episodes 7 and 8. Episode 7, we know is going to be the ways, going through the way gate. And then episode 8 is going to be who knows, right? So we're going to get to that. So some other things here. So far for me, and I'll toss this to you too. So far for me, the biggest like pleasant surprise in a way, as hard as it is to say, this is something where you sort of change it from the books. And I would say this is the best change they've done, even more so than the idea that it could be a female dragon to sort of build suspense. The way they're handling the white cloaks to make them is so good, because it's like as soon as they step on the screen, you hate them. I hate that guy. Well, so that means he's a great villain.
And the thing was, when it's just a yellow sister, it's like, yeah, it was still awful to see her burned at the stake. But now you've laid hands on Egwene. So yes, Nynaeve is like probably my favorite. I love Nynaeve so much. I'm a hardcore Nynaeve fan. But Egwene, I love her. I love everything she does, and she's awesome. Get your hands off her. Don't touch her.
Yeah.
Don't ever touch her. And I swear, and I love the look in his face when the wolves did finally show up. Obviously, he's not dead, I'm guessing, right? He just got a nice little stab in there.
Right.
But man, you're right. They're villainous, and you feel awful. And he was basically, when he said, it was like, how do you know that I even am someone who would keep my vow or my promise, right, to the light, to serve in the light. I was like,
right.
Here we go. This is a questioner trying to get
So,
something out of her.
right. I think we can almost go ahead and ask it. Are we sure he's actually not a child of the light, but perhaps a child of the dark?
Wow. Wow. I don't know. A couple times throughout this
Is
episode,
he
I
a
thought,
friend of the dark?
I don't know. Is he following somebody else's orders? You know, that's a question, right?
He did sort of block Nynaeve's fire.
Yeah, that I think it was either just too weak, or she just either figured it out and it just like kind of puffed on his chest. I think he's lucky she didn't disintegrate him. I don't think he was trying to also test her with the oaths. I mean, she can't tell a lie. So, but she has a spark. He can tell something's up. He at least was intuitive enough to figure out, okay, yeah, there's something going on with this girl, and I need to kind of, pull it out of her. You know, he doesn't want even a novice to go to the tower. If he can catch these girls before they go, he's gonna stamp it out. It's an abomination, Matt. By the light, he's serving the light.
I think he has a Terran Grial. He could.
That is awesome. That's the kind of stuff that would be very interesting to see. Is that they have an object that would keep, much like the Foxhead Medallion, maybe one or two of them, or some of the higher ups in the White Cloak ranks have one. That would be real interesting.
Is he the man called Boris?
Wow. Wow. Is he? I mean, is he? Lots of questions about the Dark Friend Social. The Dark Friend Social is going to be a thing in season 2, buddy. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Some other interesting things here as when Perrin gets up, when Nynaeve, or excuse me, when Egwene, right? She uses the fire, but then she's also burning his she's burning his his rope so he can get out.
Yeah.
The questioner looks at him and is freaked out because his eyes are bright yellow. So does he know something about that? Or is he just sort of something's odd here too?
Yeah, and that could be a clue, again, from the Dark Friend Social, if we're going to talk about that. I know people were already jumping at, like, at this point, I'm open to anything and everything, right? I don't mean call him a dark friend, call him, Volda, whatever. Did he see something? Does he know that this is a sign of something older? Like the yellow eyes is something of the dark, right? Is it just scary enough that it's not Aes Sedai, but yet could he be a male channeler? I mean, who knows what's going through his mind right now, but he did seem to catch on that there was something more to Perrin. It was the eyes that really got him and freaked him out. So
yeah. And then, yes, Egwene does take the ring. So that's going to be interesting when she shows up at the White Tower, I'm presuming in the next episode, with the rings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's again, they're kind of talking about Lan and her, Leandrin was talking about these prizes that she was going to bring. Bringing Nynaeve is a big prize. Egwene was one that she lost. And then she had a couple other Ta'veren as well that she'll want to kind of bring in and present to the tower. And now they're going to show up and all is going to be, well. But yeah, so I'm guessing we're right there. We saw how close the Tinkers were when they were taken over by the White Cloaks there. So we should be able to get to target. I don't think it'll take us a month. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think we're right there.
Definitely getting a handful of comments here about the final minute being maybe a little over the top, like Lan ripping his shirt over. I can agree with that. I think they got their point, but then the scene was maybe a little too long.
My thing is
that it needed to be, but
I thought about that. I've been seeing this. I've been seeing this comments, and my thing is, I think too they definitely I kind of felt like this was going to go this direction because Steppen and he in that one episode when they're fighting together and going through the forms, they're trying to build up this, like, maybe they were, they knew each other for a while and they had become friends and there was a closeness to them. And again, both of their Aes Sedai are very powerful, some of the most powerful in their Aja, right? So I feel like they had a bond and they were just trying to really show that. Here's the thing. You can't, when you don't have all that action and all those fights, a lot of channeling and all that kind of stuff, you're trying to make us emotionally connect to the characters. And I think they just said, you know what, screw it. We're going to go big, or it's going to land with some people. And some people are going to be like, that's a little too much for me. A little too, made me feel it gave me chills. I mean, I was sitting there. I mean, by the end, Matt, I was, I was just sitting over here, just like, I was like, let's go.
Hey, yeah, I love this comment. Love this comment right here. Love that the White Cloaks became wolf kibble. Yeah, it's really funny. Every time I see this now, and I hope that a few people in our chat get this reference. So, I grew up a professional wrestling fan, and there was this sort of group of wrestlers, right, in the 90s, that were the Wolf Pack, right? They were the Wolf Pack, and they have this song, and it's like Wolf Pack is back. And it starts off with like a wolf howling and stuff. And every time I see Perrin, that song just like immediately comes to mind. And so it's so funny. But Valda did see those golden eyes. Now, another thing I thought was kind of interesting was there was no talk of Nynaeve being the Dragon Reborn in this episode, after the last episode seemed to sort of build up the idea that she could be.
Right. I think it was just kind of tabled because, and that was what Leandrin was kind of saying, which is, where have you locked her away? I mean, kind of hinting at that. And she was trying also to get Nynaeve to go out and walk around and get away from wherever it is that Moiraine has kind of tucked you away, because of that very thing. And that was what Moiraine, that conversation between her and Nynaeve in the beginning was good. I thought Moiraine was going to snap back like she does in the books a little bit, but she took a very tender, kind of kind, understanding like approach with her in terms of like, you just channeled. I know this is a lot. Somebody had a comment in here earlier. Someone said that in the midst of the tower, she's still trying to be the wisdom and be strong and all those things, but you can see it almost in her eyes. The acting is great. Zoe Robbins, I mean, freaking a phenomenal job, because I could tell that she was stubborn, that Two Rivers stubborn, but at the same time was like, this is a lot. There is a huge, I'm standing in a huge freaking tower. I just channeled. I did something that I didn't know I could do. I healed everyone in this freaking cave, so it's all kind of catching up. And Moiraine is seeing that. And I was just a little touched that Moiraine took her on that way,
Yeah, I will say, Moiraine laying in her bed with her boots on. Come on, man.
Well, yeah,
I mean, you're just gonna get it dirty. What are you doing?
So I know someone in the comments will know this, and I know it's probably something later in the books that I'm misremembering. What is the little door that she opens in her bed chamber there? It looked like there was an image or a picture. Anybody got thoughts on that? Leave me a comment down below here. It might be something spoiler. Yes. I don't know.
So just to explain this ritual, because I don't think this has been explained in the books, at least as far as I'm at. He basically takes on all the grief for everybody there. Or what's the deal there?
I think he was maybe just someone who was like closest to him. And so, yeah, he was the one who like they channeled the grief through. I mean, and
right. Because that would sort of explain it a bit more.
Right. Like, I think they all felt a grieving, but he was like the representative that was meant to kind of express that and to really show like that's, and it really is kind of a powerful moment. I mean, like, he's down there, like, I don't know. Because you know how, like, if you're at a funeral, I mean, let's be honest, if you're at something like that and you're holding back like just sobs or tears or whatever anguish, and he was there with him. He wanted to stay with him that night. He was distraught there. I mean, Moiraine is actually literally worried about Lan. I think she knows she's putting her life in harm's way, and that it's part of her calling, what she's supposed to do. And you saw Alana kind of say, hey, don't worry, you're going to be around with us for a lot longer. Foreshadowing? Yes. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah. And then again, hey, we opened this episode, right, burying all of there were some Aes Sedai, right, and some mortars and stuff like that. We saw that, which is something we had seen in the trailer quite a bit. Let me see. After that, right, it's just some other kind of things. Matt and Rand's story it felt like they didn't get as much screen time this episode, which is fine. We're going to push that forward. So I imagine that they will possibly be getting a little bit more next episode, as well as Egwene. Remember, we've seen that shot in the trailer of Egwene hugging Nynaeve, sort of in the White Tower. So my guess is that in the next episode, Egwene and Perrin will show up in Tarvalin, and everyone's reunited, and we will sort of go from there. So here's a question for you, Ez. How do we get from where we're at now with really only teasing Rand as being Aiel? There's been 2 teases of it, and this one confirming it a little bit more, which is cool because that does happen in the books a lot. Is everyone's like, "Oh, Rand, you look like you're, Aiel, right?" And without necessarily saying it about Rand, other people have sort of said, that when the other people try to sort of lie about where they're from, like Egwene and Perrin, they've said, Aram is like, "No, you're from the 2 rivers. I can tell, right? Just the way you look and you talk and everything." And so other than that, we saw Rand sort of knock down that big door. How are we going to go from where we're at now to getting it to be like Rand being possibly the Dragon Reborn? Because the episode description for episode 7 says Moraine reveals who the Dragon Reborn is.
In the next episode, or in episode?
So the next 2 episodes, we should theoretically know that Rand is the Dragon Reborn, not Egwene, Perrin, or anybody else.
Well, I just said in her mind, from her perspective, right? Maybe from her point of view, she reveals who she believes to be the Dragon Reborn, and it might be Egwene. She might actually present Egwene or Nynaeve. I think if it's going to be Rand, then we're going to quickly go through a way gate and we're going to get to the Eye of the World, and he's going to be in a desperate situation. Need is always important around the Eye of the World and in the Blight, in terms of finding the Green Man and all that good stuff. So Rand would then be the guy who, because of great need, would call upon the power and surprise us all, right? And that'll be the big shock factor. Now, whether that happens before she reveals him as the Dragon Reborn or after, or whatever the deal is, I still think they're doing a great job of, like, because when Logain was still seated, like, you couldn't tell whether Logain was looking at Matt or Rand. The way they focused it was on Matt to show us that maybe Matt's going crazy, or maybe Logain thinks that Matt is a male channeler and someone who could be the dragon. That was brilliant. So I think there's still going to be some of that misleading stuff going on, and I don't know, man. This episode though should all be clear that man stood there and he looked and he saw Dragon Mount and he said, I think I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have. Lifetime. I mean, more than once you've seen it, actually. God, by the light. Let him ride again on the winds of time.
Here we go. So people are trying to break down which we saw, and count seems to be in the chat 8. So Mogideon, Ravine, Asmodean, Lanfear, Ishamael, Samael, Semrij, and Grendel.
Yeah. Scary looking figurines, and it was cool to see the Forsaken brought up. That's a nice, those are nice little ways to kind of weave it in without throwing it in your face, and to lay these breadcrumbs for things that are going to happen,
right?
Later, right?
Now, Logain looking at Matt and Rand and sort of laughing and hearing possibly some voices. Do you think he heard like darkness that's surrounding Matt? Because it kind of seemed like that. Or do you think he was looking and saying, "Oh, that might be the dragon in Rand," but then they just sort of zoom in on Matt?
Yeah, I think we might even come back to that later. Though I guarantee you, the setup here, if you're Rafe, and this is what's great. This is why book readers love this. If you're new to all of this, you're looking at it just thinking it's Matt. Either way, it's fine. We've marked this as spoiler, because what you're going to do later, Matt, is you're gonna have Logain talking to Rand, and when this comes up, or when someone says, whenever it's referenced again that he was looking at this individual, whether it be Matt or Rand, he's gonna say, "No, I was looking at Rand." He's just going to say, like, that's who I saw. And it's cool because in the book he has that ability, and he sees something in Rand. Although they're both there. Like in the book, it was literally just Rand. So it was interesting.
Right. They just sort of make it seem like it in this, it was Matt because he's laughing, and then they do a close up of Matt's face. Now here's one.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, you're fine. I'd be curious if they end up leaving out the Forsaken from the books that got Bale fired, since if this is a new turn of the wheel, they wouldn't be in it. Totally burned out of the pattern. Who knows? And I do agree with that. And we've talked about that before. The possibility that we won't necessarily do all of the Forsaken just for show
Some
reasons.
of them are a joke. Some of them are in there for like 2 seconds.
I'll be yeah. Balzamon's kind of a joke, to be completely honest.
Hey,
I mean, I mean, like, he never does anything until Rand just sort of beats him, right?
How many times are you gonna beat this guy?
Right. So yeah, I do agree that I don't know that we'll get all 13 Forsaken. They could lore dump and just sort of say there were, or there are, or whatever, but I don't know that they're going to specifically show us each Forsaken and make them all out to be a big deal. Obviously the bigger players are going to be bigger, bigger players. I actually think it's possible Osmodian gets cut and they move forward Logain a little bit more and have Logain teach Rand later down the line.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, they could move a lot of stuff forward, especially with Nynaeve and her abilities. Great reference too, by the way. Someone referenced the yellow Aja looking into Nynaeve for healing abilities. You think she's gonna become a red or a blue, right? She's been wearing a yellow dress underneath her green dress this whole time. Little things like that they are putting right in front of book readers and first time show watchers, just to kind of hint at stuff and give us a little bit of a, idea of where we might be going, which is cool.
Yeah. Just some other questions here. Well, I have to say, hey, this one right here, Tavir. I was kind of hoping Loyal would say that, but didn't say it. But I do think that that's going to get explained. I think here shortly. So, okay. So one of the things we didn't see, remember, it said that Rand and Matt would see strange ones, right? Strange faces. Really, we met Loyal. Right. So we've still yet to meet Min.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We have not. I'm guessing we're gonna see her in Tarvalin. I'm guessing maybe she's somewhere around the city, and that's she's being kept somewhere. A lot like later on, Min is kept in the White Tower. Once the Aes Sedai have found her, they're really not letting her go. They want to use her talent and things like that, and they'll find a way to keep her. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if she were in Tarvalin somewhere being kept or being allowed to do her thing, but eyes and ears are all, around her.
Well, people are saying Fall Dara. So, which I think Fall Dara is episode 8, obviously, because episode 6 we got to do the White Tower stuff. 7 seems like it's going to be the Ways, which takes us to Fall Dara, and that's where we're going to go. So the other interesting thing is, what's going to happen in the next episode that causes us to, it's either we're going to have this big sort of assembly in front of the Aes Sedai, again, which is totally different, right, than the books. Are we going to be dispatched, right? Like what's going to cause us to have to go to Fall Dara?
Yeah, so I think this so right now they're building up this idea that Moraine and Siuan are going to be, button heads, and really there's some secret sort of pact between them. We're going to get a side door conversation, right, between those two, where she's like, "Good to see you, old friend." She's going to embrace the whole thing. It's going to happen. They have to do that. And then It's going to be like, now I have to look like I'm disciplining someone or coming down hard on you, but you go do your thing.
Yeah, remember there was a leaked, so some of the leaked photo stuff that we've seen that we haven't gotten yet, all the stuff with, like, remember there's like Aiel, and that was even in like one of the teaser trailers. There's like shots of like Aiel fighting and stuff like that, right? And then remember one of the leaked photos showed Siuan, I think, talking to Moraine, and they were like in this like sort of private room. Remember?
Oh yeah.
So so that could still be a flashback or something, but that's probably next episode.
Right, and they could do that kind of lore dump you're talking about, the Aiel War, right, at Dragonmount, where Rand is left and all that good stuff. They can do that and just talk about some of it if they want to, or that could be Rand having some, not a flashback, but I mean just talking about that war and setting the stage for his story. Yeah.
Right. And so I guess I'm just trying to piece together, because now, all of the sort of things we've seen in trailers and stuff, as we get further along, it ends up, okay, well, it can only be in one of these episodes. So which one do you do it, and where do you go? It could be cool to get Rand's Aiel backstory a little bit more in like episode 8 as we go over to Faldara.
Yeah, it could. People are saying right here, Tam's fever dream, just in a flashback, different ways that you can do it. Somewhere in there, they'll drop some of it. They're doing stuff with dreams as well too. I really don't know when or where that's gonna happen. I think the real question though, and what someone brought up here, is what will cause them to say we need to go to the Eye of the World or to Faldara, Tarwin's Gap? Like, what's gonna, and someone said that Suan might be have some information coming back from Camelin, had read some signs, or maybe the Tinkers say something that we didn't see. We didn't see them say anything. Aram, I don't know if they're just, if Gawain and Perrin are just running away. Do they go back to the Tinkers first and then get some bit of information that they share from the Aiel? Who knows? But there needs to be something, because that's what happens in Camelin, right? Moraine reads this and sees that, okay, a web of destiny is forming. The Dark One is trying to strike at the Eye of the World. There is no time. We need to go there and get there. So who is going to drop that? It's either going to be Suan, or Loyal hasn't said what he's going to say yet, or the Tinkers haven't shared their encounter with an Aiel that they had. That's book or something new in the show. I actually like the idea of Suan doing that, because Suan then matters a bit more, and she's someone who, not matters, God, she's the Armerlin seat. Sorry. But she actually then provides some intel to Moraine, because it feels like in the book, in The Great Hunt especially, Suan is kind of, when she talks to Moraine, it feels like she hasn't heard anything from her in quite some time. And so it's like, okay, when she does talk to Moraine, she needs filled in, versus this would be her saying, hey, we need to go to Faldara. We need to make a move at the Eye of the World.
Right. So yeah, just to give people sort of a reference here, I got the map pulled up. So right. This is where we're at right now. Obviously, here's Dragon Mountain, stuff like that. And so then we're going to take the ways, and then this is where we'll end up, is in Faldara, and that's how it's going to sort of end, pretty close to the Aiel Waste.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if we're going to get all these different things about, like, the Eye of the World. I wonder if we're going to get that referenced. We're going to Faldara. Why wouldn't we? They've stuck pretty close. Actually, I know people want to say that we've moved away from the books a bit, but things have been merged pretty well, and we're kind of about in the same spot where we want to be. We know the Waygate's coming up. We know we're all going to ride up with horses to this gate, and we're going to go through it to Faldara. So that seems to be right on point. We just have to get to the Eye of the World, which will be fascinating to see them do that, and to see if we get the Green Man. That would be fantastic. Moraine, having been there before, knowing that need is what will drive them and what allows them to find access or gain access to it. So it's just who is going to spark us in that direction, and I think it is going to be Suan, actually. So
yeah, 62.5%. We try to do a little bit of math.
Yeah, there you go.
just
I don't know what the titles are yet. If there is a title for episode 8, I think Matt has always told me up through 7 what those titles have been, but yeah.
I believe it is, but there's nothing specific about it. And then we do actually have, I forgot about this, is that we do actually have the title for season 2, episode 1. It was in one of the teasers when they showed it, and that one is called let me see here. That one is called A Taste of Solitude.
Okay.
That's really all we know about that.
That's Rand running from his that's what happens in the Great Hunt. He wants to he talks a lot about just taking off, and if it weren't for the horn and chasing the horn and the dagger and his friend, he would just be out of here, So
yeah. And then so episode descriptions. So the titles, the next episode is called The Flame of Tarvalin. Moraine faces the consequences of her actions. Matt faces the darkness in himself. Egwene faces the most powerful woman in the world. The Dark Along the Ways is episode 7. And actually they have removed the title or the description of it, but I believe it was something along the lines of we find out who the Dragon Reborn is, and we're chased by something dark. And then the final episode, yes, is the Eye of the World.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, that
wasn't there before, but again, that could be changed. This is IMDb, so who knows? It could be edited or whatever. Nothing sort of official on that yet, but I would say that's pretty interesting to say the least. Matt, also, shout out, by the way, as we have broken our record.
Oh yeah, thanks guys. Yeah, this is awesome.
Absolutely, thank you guys so much for all that. For everybody hanging out. We had 150, or we had just, I think we were like 142, something like that, last week, and so to be able to smash back through that, hit 160 is awesome.
Yeah, it is. Friends, I gotta say something real quick though. I'm doing a click back through, and I'm at 28 minutes 34 seconds, and I'm telling you right now, if they don't get their hands off of Egwene, I'm gonna lose my ever living mind. I'm clicking back through just to kind of refresh myself on the episode, and it's killing me right now. Like, the White Cloaks they're great, but they're terrible. You know what I mean?
Like, it's the way they're doing them, man. The way they're doing the White Cloaks is so good. It's so terrible. Because I hate them every time he shows up. But that's when you have a villain that's that good, and you hate that villain, that means you're doing it. It means you're doing it right.
Oh, you know what it just dawned on me?
Yeah, manhandling a 70-pound God, and they're all just.
Oh man, dude. Yeah, that was don't even get me started. Like, they got the brushes out, they're scrubbing her clean and all that stuff. Yeah, it's an intense scene. The things that they are doing, like, again, Perrin and his wife, that is intense. Matt and his family.
I like that we did finally get the sort of resolve of that.
Yeah, and Egwene talking him through that and saying, you're going to understand, it's not your fault, it was a mistake, all these different things. It's going to haunt him for a while. But like, they're hitting us hard, right, with some of these emotional connections. Here's one for you, Matt. This just dawned on me. Nynaeve gives him gives Steppen the tea, right? Gives him the tea, knowing he's having trouble sleeping. He's having all this pain. We hear the other warders talking about what that is like. Alana talks about what it's like, how awful it is for a warder to outsurvive or to outlive his Aes Sedai. Now, the tea, Matt, who also drank the tea, Lan. Had Lan not have had that tea, he'd be awake. That thing knocks you out. So the reason because I thought like someone was trying to attack Moraine during the episode. I was freaking out. I was like, there's a Forsaken in the freaking White Tower. I was thinking Gray Man. I don't know what, there's all sorts of stuff. But if Lan doesn't have that tea and he sees Steppen step outside with a dagger, he's going to stop him. He was staying there for that very reason, but he drank the tea and it knocked him clean out, which is what allowed Steppen to go do what he did. So
right here, from R.M. Venjari. I can't pronounce that.
Good try.
I hope the wolves attacking would have been more graphic, just because of Egwene's scene before. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Some people were saying they were talking about the wolves not being. I think people were expecting dire wolves. I think they were expecting dire wolves, and they're just wolves. So
you could change that. You could make them.
Yeah, I think wolves are fine, but I think when I read it too, I did think of them as more, bigger, more menacing, and things like that. And they're just wolves. They're just regular.
Great comment here by Janes. If the White Cloaks are this bad, I really dread the day we see the Shan-Chan.
Wow, good call. Good freaking call.
It's kind of like in Game of Thrones where you're like, God, I hate Joffrey. And then they're like, just wait until you meet this new guy, Ramsay Bolton.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think in the comments, you guys let me know. I think, are we seeing the Shan-Chan this episode? Or not this episode, but this season?
I think that's a season 2 thing.
I think so too, but I thought I'd heard someone say we might see one or like an epilogue thing where they're showing up or something in Faldara, or not Faldara, Falma. So
yeah, the wolves are the size of wolves. Yeah, it's cool. I think they're sweet.
I do too. Yeah,
wolf pack.
Right. Yeah, we've been hearing them. By the way, we've been hearing them for episodes. Not, I mean, we saw them
Yes.
chasing, like leading Perrin to the Tinkers, but we heard them before that. Rand is hearing them in the mountains. We've heard them since episode 1, which is really cool that they've been there that long. So,
yeah. Okay. Yes. Hey, good point here. Now, Egwene has already been captured once. Okay. How many times are we gonna see it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're gonna just do,
start the Egwene / Nynaeve / Elaine capture count.
Hey, now according to them, they always get out of it on their own. They didn't need Matt's help down in Stone and Tear. Okay, they didn't need his help. So
I will say I did tweet something out the other day. Wow, kind of went viral a little bit in the Wheel of Time community, talking about circus chapters that we could potentially see later, and everyone agreed with me.
Yeah, well, it just shows there's things that you can cut. I mean, there are things that are going to be more accepted by, I think, book readers to say, yeah, we can cut that. So,
but yes, let's go ahead and start the counter. Right? She's already been captured once. How many times are we gonna see it?
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, this was cool actually. I want to talk about this. This is something that there wasn't a whole bunch of it really. But the little scene where Nynaeve is talking to Rand, which I actually thought was kind of cool. It almost kind of gets buried in the episode because there's just so much else going on. But when she's talking about Nynaeve and her sort of resolve, right? I love the Nynaeve dialogue about Egwene. She is unbreakable. That was actually really cool. And also sort of helped build Nynaeve as the healer, right? And then we can also use that later to understand this is how she was able to. Maybe Nynaeve will sense her. No, because Nynaeve's there when she shows up in the trailer, at least.
Yeah, but still going back to the tracking thing, answering Land's question for him, like how did you track us, right? Yeah, the whole bit about her healing Egwene is pretty cool. Egwene shouldn't even be here, right? Shouldn't even be alive, but something happened that night between her and Nynaeve. That was really cool. Glad they brought that up, actually.
Cut Fael. That's
what
I know people
what is wrong with people.
People are all about, I'm not gonna lie, maybe I'm just not far enough into the books yet, but I actually don't dislike Fael. But maybe I don't know, maybe I'm not there yet. Okay, I'm just in the beginning of book 6. So
yeah, you guys got to come check out the podcast and see Matt's reaction to that stuff later on.
Right.
So,
but yeah. I do think she is fantastic. I am beginning to enjoy certainly. I think man, the more we get into this too, the casting and everything, I just agree with so much more. Like the first few episodes, I was kind of like, even like, I don't know, Perrin, just like I just have a different image of him in my mind, but I'm beginning to sort of feel it more and more. I would say that of the 5, I do think maybe I feel like maybe he hasn't had the most amount of time. Rand hasn't had the most amount of time as like, oh, he's going to be our key figure. Like Nynaeve's definitely had a lot of sort of screen time and sort of character building. Matt has had a lot.
Yeah.
Even though you don't really have to do a lot with him because you just have to show him as being sick and like angry. And I think they're doing really well with him. But I feel like Perrin. I need a little more Perrin.
Yeah, it's been with Egwene. It's that quiet, reserved nature that he's doing a lot with his body language. He's there, just isn't saying a whole lot. And then this episode, I think they've but you're right, overall they have balanced the Emmons Fielders pretty well. They've
yeah, just in terms of screen time and who's getting time and everything. Actually, I would say that the majority of this season has been Moraine, which is fine because she's your lead and she's who you're sort of running this show through, and then eventually it's like it'll hand off the reins to everyone else.
Yeah, and what's crazy is she was sick for so long. You know what I mean? That was different. Talk about a couple things that they're doing that are different. We're getting to see these interactions between the Reds and the Blues earlier on. Tower politics. Something interesting that Steppen did, and I'm just, as I'm clicking through here, seeing this again. They had that burning ring, that fire, where it was his job to take his Aes Sedai's ring back to the tower and drop that in the cast it into the fire, right? I mean, destroy it, like threw the ring in there, burned. It was freaking Mount Doom situation. That was kind of cool. I didn't know that was a thing, and that's kind of neat to see this. Yeah, these traditions or whatever between the warders and their Aes Sedai, and just the bond that they have, and this level of connection. You know, really cool stuff.
They did melt it like the one ring.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Somebody saying they didn't like this episode. I've enjoying the show, but this episode was so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, some people did not like particularly just the last little bit of it. And I can see that. I can see that. And then I think, you know, some people were possibly turned off a little bit by Loyal. I think Loyal looks better than I thought he would.
Love his voice. Love his voice.
And his mannerisms are on point.
Yeah. I know Loyal's like a fan favorite. People really like him. He definitely had the talk, continues talking while the humans go about their business, and you humans was mentioned a lot. The writing for him was good. As you said, maybe they'll improve on some of that. I know it's talked about him being as like in the books like the size of a Trolloc, and they showed us how big Trollocs can be in the Two Rivers. So he is kind of small. But
the other thing to keep in mind too, and I was actually reading somewhere where they said that one of the things that was affected the most was because of COVID. Remember, the show started filming and then it got shut down. They had to reopen and all that stuff. Was like practical effects. They said that was something that because you now don't have as many times to do these sort of bigger scenes that require a lot of setup, which was one of the, I think some of the things that people were talking about in the last episode with some of like the graphics and stuff like that, where they're having the battle in the woods. But because I did specifically see them say something about that was one area which, because of the COVID sort of just impact of filming, was that they didn't have as much time to film as many scenes, to sort of redo scenes for practical effects and stuff. So they just kind of, whatever take they got, they sort of had to roll with. So that is something that, you know, I do expect actually season 2, again, if they've already greenlit up to season 3, I expect that the budgets of season 2 and season 3 will be that much bigger. Plus it won't have that initial impact of COVID. And then also you've now sort of built your style and everything, and you can look back and sort of reflect upon what everyone's saying. So I think season 2 was going to seem like a big step up, but I would say where we're at already is great.
Well, yeah, think about that, but despite COVID, right? That this is where it's at. I actually think people should be saying the same thing, which is that it's impressive given everything that happened. The reshoots are having to like move stuff, stop stuff, and it's crazy.
So it's like season 2, I think, is going to feel like a huge step up.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, Loyal. Yeah, here we go. I think this one's good too. Yeah, Loyal. Makeup 7, actor 9, lines 9.5. Yeah, he was great. I think he's got it. It's also going to be interesting to see, because now, you know, we've already sort of established our group a little bit, even though they've been split up. Like I can see them doing stuff together. I know they're all going to get split up and stuff like that, but when there's scenes where they're all doing stuff together, it's going to fit and flow. But now we are bringing on that other person that ends up sort of being with the group for quite a bit, which is Loyal. And I think he's going to work out great. It's going to be, he's a great. I love Loyal's like one of my favorite in the books. He's just so hilarious. Like
that scene. So something that's that to his spirit. And you talk about the spirit of a character when he comes in. If you watch, because I'm clicking back through it, he just keeps walking back and forth and talking while they're all talking. Loyal's just back there doing his thing, and he's just doing his thing. And I think they take his volume down a notch, and he's just doing his thing. He's got that kind of bumblebee, you know, that voice or whatever. That's really cool. So, yeah, he does need a horse now. No way he can keep up with those small feet. That's funny.
Here we go. What about the Green Man? Do you think we will see the Green Man in episode 8? I'm guessing, which is the Eye of the World.
Yeah, I think so. I do. I think if you want to build this up to be the fantasy that it is, and take us to that level of high fantasy, yeah, you need to show us stuff that people aren't used to seeing. The clips that I think we want people to see are when you get to the Eye of the World, you want to see what is a visually like a pool of pure Saidin look like. What's the chest, the dragon's banner, the horn of Valir, all those things. are these things that we're going to see. Like those items will be, I think, really important. And I think we have to see him too. It just makes it more fantastical, even if it's just for a few moments, and actually having, I don't know, one Forsaken or the Forsaken show up would be a big deal. I don't know. This is where I'm kind of saying I don't know that it'd be too hard to get those types of things.
Here's another question. I'll toss this to you, as and I'll toss it to and I want to see what you guys think in the chat. Yeah, because there's almost an answer right there. Is what is going to be the conflict that we have in episode 8? Because I almost feel like this. So we've been seeing sort of Balsamon in the dreams, right? And now we get a little bit about the Forsaken. So what is I think this next episode with Suan stepping on the stage, we're probably going to get some more lore about the Forsaken, and here's what's going on, and here's why we need to find the Dragon Reborn, and here's why it's important. Because right now it's been sort of the White Cloaks and Leandrin. So are we gonna have to bring in that Dark One? I would say now, because if episode 7 is the Ways, you're gonna need to be like, okay, the Dark One's after us. So then how do you introduce a villain other than Balsamon, who we've been seeing in our dreams, to be this villain that we're gonna have to fight at the end of season 1?
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm seeing Dark Friends and Forsaken all over the place, because even in today's episode, I thought, holy smoke, someone is going to end up being, we call it glamored in Game of Thrones, but they're going to have woven something over themselves where they look different. Lanfear looks different. I thought they were going to change something up in the sequence and drop a freaking Forsaken or a member of the Black Aja in on us here early to show us that something's up. But there will need to be a lore dump on us, and that's okay. They're giving us lore in the behind the scenes or the X-ray stuff, which is great. I mean, so folks who are into that and want more context for this world, that is there. They're doing a lot on Amazon on the platform. So yeah, I think it's you have to explain why does the Dark One would want to get there. Not only does he want the dragon, maybe he wants to keep the dragon from getting to that pool. Maybe he wants there has to be a reason to get there before him and stop him. You know what I mean? Because it's not just there to go save the Green Man or protect the Green Man. It's like, why would he be striking at the Eye of the World? You got to tell us that too, and which means telling us a bit more about what's there. Or they keep that a mystery to the Emmons Field 5, but the Aes Sedai, you get a sense that they know the significance of it and we don't. You kind of keep the audience and your Emmons Fielders in suspense a little bit, and then you can say we need to go there, and you're all like, well, why? I mean, the audience who hasn't read the books or don't know what's going on, what's so significant? But you can see it in actors' faces, like, oh shoot, there's something big at this place and we don't know what it is, and they're going to drop it on us in episode 8. You know what I mean? You got to build some sort of dramatic irony, suspense, whatever.
Right. So yeah, we definitely need to set up some sort of conflict. Now it could just be the Trollocs and stuff like that, because I mean we're going to Faldara, right? It seems like, and we've seen in the trailers and teasers that they've shown. What's the guy's name? I always forget blank on it. That we're going to run into. Who's the guy that's in charge there?
Where
did we see Uno? Did we see Uno in the?
Lord Agamar is there,
right.
And like in Faldara, yeah. I don't know if we saw him or not. And then I don't know if we saw Ingtar or any of those guys. I don't know if they've actually mentioned any of their names or not up in Faldara, but that would be. I'm sure we're gonna get their names dropped at some point. So.
Yeah, that would be the Great Hunt, which I actually think we could see at the beginning of next season. Now the other thing, I do still think we're gonna get it in this season, as I think I still think it's possible we get the Lews Therin prologue as a dream that Rand has. There has been casting for Lews Therin. I'm guessing that's going to be season 2. But I still think we could get it in terms of misty figures, and you just sort of hear, maybe he's having this dream, but you're hearing in it like Ilyena, or however you want to do that.
Yeah, that would be cool. Someone, because I think you had asked this last episode, when she goes up to Logain and she hears him talking about other dragons and different stuff, she doesn't believe him, right? He doesn't fit the age. The Trollocs aren't after him, as Lan says. The Dark One doesn't seem to be after him. She says, we don't know if the Dark One knows who the Dragon Reborn is any more than we do, but she's not convinced that he is the Dragon Reborn. And there has to be something that Rand or one of our Emmons Fielders says that is going to convince her that's the one, that's the person? Is it just their ability to channel and their power level? Because with the female channelers, yeah, she can sense that. But like if it's Rand or if they do a Matt situation, can she really sense that power level? She needs more. She needs something. And by the way, did you see the book? Rand picked up the Koreathon cycle.
Yes.
The Prophecies of the Dragon. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
That's the little tiny stuff. Those are the little tiny things. Seeing Dragon out, picking that book up, wondering about these things. It's going to take us to that level. We know that's where they're going. It's a great idea to shift around. You know, is it Nynaeve? Is it Egwene? Is it Perrin? Is it Matt? All that stuff is really cool.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Cool. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I think that's probably an okay place to stop the podcast. As and I are recording this podcast, we're not going anywhere for any of you guys hanging out here on YouTube. So we're just going to do sort of a quick outro, but we're not leaving at all if you're hanging out here on YouTube. So for those of you guys who are listening on the podcast, be sure to come hang out with us on YouTube, because we hang out for, last time we did like a 5-hour stream.
My God. Yeah.
So who knows? So anyway, for any of you guys listening here on the podcast, we do appreciate it. And we will see you guys next time for episode 6, which I believe is called The Flames of Tarvalin. Be sure to check out some of our other stuff as well, and I have tons of extended content on Patreon and Apple Podcast Premium, which is also a great way on Apple Premium to get access to the premium content and extra stuff on all of our podcasts, which include Bend the Knee, which is a Song of Ice and Fire podcast, Hyperspace Hangout, a Star Wars podcast, and one of our brand new shows. We just started doing a reread of Harry Potter, the Elder Wand podcast. So be sure to check that out. So with that, we want to thank you, and remember that the grave is no bar to our call.